What's up, everyone? Welcome to today's video. Welcome to the Video Game Fight School channel. Thank you very much for tuning in. I wanted to talk about something that I thought was a phenomenon in today's conversation surrounding Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, or games that I would say the loud majority of players don't want to play. And the reason I want to do this is because I think I'm about to unveil something that I've usually suspected, but I think now the context and all of the, I would say, available evidence and available timelines are here before us. And that is the fact that most times people will spend their energy talking about something that they don't like, or I call it in some sense complaining, rather than actually talking about the things that they claim they prefer or like in some cases. I'll show you guys why I think so. I may be off, but bear with me this moment. So there is a character in Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League that I haven't necessarily heard many people continue to talk about, even though this character carries a very significant weight in the whole conversation as to video games that are being made pretty soon. Many of you know that this character is simply Wonder Woman. She is this character that is having her own game being produced right now at Monolith. And for many people, this is actually exciting, but again, with the so-called superhero fans that want single-player games, I haven't necessarily heard many of them actually highlight or talk about this a lot. Now, there is the fact that we don't know when the release date of the game is going to be. However, that doesn't really change much because we sat here and talked about Arkham, the next Arkham game, for many years before 2020 when we saw Suicide Squad and Gotham Knights revealed. We talked about all kinds of different hints, podcasts, interviews, possible leaks, possible theories, possible hypotheses, possible comic storylines, and all of that for us to be able to then eventually, figure out what it is that we thought we wanted. Now, why I think this is very important in the grand scheme of the conversation is because I saw a comment on someone's video. I'm not going to mention any names here. Some of you may or may not know or may have seen the video, but this comment, in my opinion, is going to reveal to you why I think most people have lost the plot when it comes to this, specific aspect, regarding the conversation of video games as to what it is gamers like and what they would actually spend their energy talking about. Now, this person says, and this is about Suicide Squad, they said, I know this seems harsh, but I genuinely hope this game tanks financially. Warner Brothers Games should have recognized long ago that the live service model is not the right call for Rocksteady, these characters, or the publishers in general. We've seen so many games like this die spectacularly, and quite literally, only a handful truly succeed. The people, and then it stops. There might not be necessarily any more. Maybe they were typing and then they stopped. But I wanted to go ahead and just stop the whole conversation as somebody actually looking forward to seeing the work that people have done, something that they will be compensated for, actually fail. This is a very strange request and a very strange wish overall. Because why would you want somebody's work that they've actually put in time and effort in to fail, number one? And number two, if you actually say you want these kinds of games, which are the single player games, at least be honest with yourself and say, okay, maybe you're not looking at the full context and paying attention to the fact that, number one, Monolith is in production of a Wonder Woman game, which is supposedly going to meet this need of the single player want that you guys want. And number two, it's not necessarily the fact that these, in quotes, so-called games like these die a spectacular death, because that is a false narrative. Actually, as crazy as it sounds, live service games now run the show. This is a reality and a fact. But the full context is that Warner Brothers, as the game interactive studio, is dabbling their hands in both single player and both the live service model. It just happens to be that Rocksteady was the company that was kind of free whenever it is that this particular initiative came into light, and whomever is in charge wanted it to be that way. And so here's the thing. Let's go ahead and look at a few things. Now, in Warner Brothers Interactive Entertainment, in terms of the hierarchical structure and the leadership, there's a gentleman called David Hadad. He runs the interactive entertainment arm, which is the gaming arm. When a lot of the, shuffle was going on, he was basically one of the few, if not probably the only exec that kept his job in the leadership, shuffle. This is something that, many people did not necessarily know because other folk like Jason Kilar were, moved out of the company. I don't know if you guys know who Jason Kilar is. That is the person who started the initiative for CNN Plus, spending $350 million on a failed venture, and also was in charge of some aspects of the whole Warner arm in regard to that. But there are people who make mistakes, right? But David Hadad is somebody whom is somewhat strategic, because at the end of the day, even though many don't know, he was one of the people who wanted to go ahead and push for live service games as far back as 2018, when he unveiled exactly his plans. Even yet, he was already in this position 2 years previously, right after the release of Batman Arkham Knight. So he was coming in with the mindset that other games that are doing this are making money. I want us to get ours. So look at this interview and look at this article written by John Papadopoulos, June 2018. It says, in an interview with GamesBeat, David Hadad, president of Warner Brothers Interactive Entertainment, revealed that the publisher plans to move everything to games as a service. This is the second publisher that invests as much into games as a service as possible, with Ubisoft already doing this with pretty much all of their franchises. In the context of this, Tom Clancy's The Division 1 had already almost outclassed FIFA in sales. FIFA was bringing in close to $1 billion. So there was a business side that was leaning into things. And yet, there were still investments, even with the live service emphasis, on single-player games around their studios. Now, yes, he is not free from criticism, because it is his influence, I think, and this is my opinion, that brought that Time Saver store in Middle-earth Shadow of War into the game that the fans rejected, and then that got removed, knowing that there was no place for that. However, their celebrations of single-player games in their arsenal or in their library, like Hogwarts Legacy, which crossed about 22 million copies, there were a lot of factors that actually made that happen. A PlayStation 4 and an Xbox One release, a Switch release, the fact that it's Harry Potter, these are the things that have basically been put into play. And so when you put all of that in perspective, it starts to kind of make sense where, okay, all of this is coming from a broader context from the business side. The thing is, our video games are heavily commercial products. Once you realize this, it's easy for you to be able to say, okay, I see what's going on here. This is not me saying you have to participate and buy a live service game. In fact, I'm telling you that even if there's a live service game in front of you, there's a single player game around the corner. Why? Because the publishers know that you want the single player games and they're making them. But you will spend your time and your energy rather complaining about the things that you don't want, hoping that the things you don't want fail, as if to say that somehow this is the end of everything, when, like I just showed you, they are literally in development making the thing that you want. This kind of thinking and this kind of mindset, I am fundamentally against, because I don't see any sense in it. So this is why I usually fundamentally attack it in any way that I actually can find. Because we're not children anymore. We're not going to sit down here and act like, oh, your local donut shop is not going to find a way to actually upsell customers that walk into it because they want to make an extra, dollar or a little bit of profit. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, it is up to the customer to choose what it is that they want. And a game like Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, it's not children that are buying the game. The game is rated differently for, adults. So again, we have to actually ask ourselves as, people who engage in the gaming conversation, what in the world is going on? What are these people actually wanting to achieve? When they actually think about the way things go, are they looking forward to, the game failing just so that they can feel like, yes, I was right? Or are they actually looking forward to the games that are coming to actually fulfill their need or their want, or whatever it is that they want to look forward to the game for? Because again, like I said, there's a single player superhero game coming out very soon. What's even more interesting, and this is another interesting side of the conversation, is this so-called thing that you say you want, right? The single player games. There was just one of them in the superhero genre that came out less than 3 months ago. Are you enjoying it? Have you enjoyed it? Are you playing it? Will you replay it? Is it not enough? And if it's not enough, then I think that speaks to that game, doesn't speak to anything. Or maybe that speaks to you. Maybe you are a bottomless pit of needing entertainment every single minute that you can't necessarily fathom, maybe, going outside to touch grass. It is a very interesting, idea for somebody to say, I hope that something that somebody worked hard on fails because it doesn't necessarily fit the thing that I wanted. That is diabolical in the most, calculative sense that anybody will think that. And so this is why I'm making this video. I'm not really a fan of that mindset overall. And I maybe somebody might come out somewhere and say something to me like, well, so you're, like I saw this comment. Somebody said, I'm condoning, games like these. No, I just told you that they're making the game you want. They also want to make money. Or do we not now know? Are we going to blindfold our eyes to thinking that the live service games don't actually allow for them to be able to have money to invest in the single player games? Is that what you're trying to say? Because I know some people will act like that, like the single player games, they sell everything, when in reality, the live service games are actually bringing in the money overall for these companies to be able to invest in the single player games. It's just the nature of the beast. And so you would actually have to, if you wanted to be really, really consistent with your view, quit gaming altogether. That's literally what you're going to have to do. And so you can't live with the reality of this one thing that you're asking, yet at the same time you want to have your cake and you want to be eating it at the same time. It's really weird overall, and I'm in a point where I just have to continue to spread this light on this mindset, because I think it doesn't really help. So this is my video. I want to hear your thoughts in the comment section. Thank you very much for watching. Peace out.